Hello, everybody. Welcome to Module 7. It is hard to believe that you guys are almost done. You've done a really phenomenal job. So, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this module. You are going to be reading about writing. And this is probably one of my favorite topics is teaching writing. So first of all, you're going to be reading Gunning, pages 524 to 533. And for your discussion post, you're going to be writing about Writer's Workshop, which includes mini lessons, guided writing, writing time, conferences, and sharing. And so in your discussion post, it says if you've taught writing using the writing workshop approach, tell us about successes, learning moments, and using the method. If you have not incorporated writing workshop, tell about your own experiences with writing instruction and how writing workshop approach may have given you more tools as a writer. So that's what you're going to be doing for your discussion forum. You have your last case study, and you guys have been doing a wonderful job on your case study. This time, the case study is a little bit different because instead of looking at an individual student, we're looking at classes. Many of you are maybe being literacy coaches. That might be your goal. And and if that's the case, you will be looking at data holistically. You're going to be looking at class data, classes, and school-wide data. And so for this particular case, it says you're a fifth grade English language arts teacher, and you have three classes. And last year, when your fourth grade students, nearly 50% of them failed the state writing assessment, which is pretty accurate for across the country. If those students do not pass, they face possible retention. You also have five students that have behavior intervention plans, eight English language learners, and one visually impaired students. 98% of your students participate in a free reduced lunch program. And your principal supports you and has given you liberty to be creative in your instructional approaches. So, what are the goals for those classes? And you need to write three measurable goals and three strategies. And again, faith integration. So now we're looking at holistic data for classes, which many times as a reading interventionist, you have to do. Uh, I want to show all of you some information that I did as a principal. So, and I want you to look at data. So, when I was a principal, um, and this is a couple years old, but I was a principal at a Camp Lejeune. I know we have another person here that is a working in the Department of Defense schools, hoorah! And I was on a Marine base. We had a comprehensive um, writing plan. So I want to show you some of our. I'm going to skip over here to our data. A little hard to see, but we can see here, this was our data that we had. And I can see here that written expression was, this is the blue, we had see third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. So we have literary text. This is how we did on literary, informational, vocabulary, and here's written expression. So we can see that written expression was our lowest scores across the district, with 38% of the third graders being proficient, 31 of the fourth grade, and 34 of the fifth grade. Then we have knowledge and use of language conventions. Well, it went up with fifth grade. It was 30, 27, and 51. So we can see that written expression and conventions was our lowest score across the district. So that was the data. So it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? This was a district-wide plan. So we looked here, this was Camp Lejeune. Camp Lejeune average score of students by grade level met expectations. It was a 35. Third grade, 29. Fourth grade, Then we have fifth grade. That was our writing. So the average was a 35, not good. Then we looked at subclaim. And so here we have our Mid-Atlantic, which I was in. We have America Southeast. We had schools all over the world, Europe South, West. We were the lowest in the world. So Europe South. So, we could see we were the lowest in all of the world. So Europe South was the highest. So what are we going to do? Well, we needed to collect writing as a formative assessment to give quality feedback to students. And we wanted to utilize ongoing documentation. So I'm going to show you our plan. So we today in our module, we're going to talk about the writing workshop. Writing workshop is what we call polished writing. And if you look at your whether you're in Florida and you're using the Florida Best Standards or you're doing the Common Core Standards, students have 3 polished pieces that they have to do. They have to do an informational piece, they do a persuasive piece, and they do a personal narrative. So they do 3 pieces, okay? Florida, they do the same thing. And DODEA adopted the Common Core Standards. They didn't call them Common Core. They put the DODEA name in front of it, but it was still Common Core Standards. So they do 3 polished pieces. Your polished pieces are the pieces that you go through when you do Writer's Workshop. That's when you're doing your pre-writing, your brainstorming, you're doing your drafting, you're doing your revising, your revision, your editing, you're going through the writing workshop. That's the polished writing. But that's only part of what students do when they write. Students should also be doing provisional writing. That's where we call it writing to learn. That's where we're doing things like taking notes, taking annotations, where students are doing maybe T-charts, where they're doing journals. We're doing readable writing. That's writing to demonstrate learning, where they're doing constructed responses. We're doing exit slips. So much of what we do for writing is provisional and readable. Only a part of what we do for writing is what we would call polished writing, which is Writer's Workshop. So this was our plan that we did. We wanted to do provisional writing every day. Every day, kids should be doing provisional writing. That's where they do brainstorming. That's low stakes writing. That's going to be formative assessments, and that it's intended for students' own learning. And we usually don't grade it. We want to do readable writing. That's on-demand writing. It's constructed responses. It's intended for the teacher to grade. It's usually submitted for points on a grade. And then we want to do polished writing. Polished writing is when we take students through the writing process. It's intended for the teacher and possibly other stakeholders to use. And there's a grade for that. So we have daily provisional writing. That's going to be important. That's that provisional writing. So we're always going to do that provisional writing, where students are doing it in social studies, in math, in science, in every possible content area. They're going to do that low stakes writing where they're making predictions. Maybe they're activating knowledge. But remember, it's that low stakes writing where they're doing it throughout the class. I do it all the time when I teach in my in-person classes. Maybe they're going to do a quick entrance ticket. Maybe they're going to do a turn and talk, but they're going to turn and talk and they're going to write their answers. So what we did is we had constructed responses. That's going to be the readable writing. And we made the readable writing aligned with our social studies and our science units. And then we could make that a summative assessment. So for each quarter, we had polished pieces of writing. And again, those polished pieces aligned with our social studies and science. So we did a polished piece in quarter one. It was modeling the writing process. In quarter two, we did an informational piece. Quarter three, an opinion piece. And quarter four, a narrative piece. Now, you might say preschoolers, they can't write. They can. Now, it may look like scribbles, it may look like pictures, but they can write. So they had one piece that is assessed using the developmental stages of writing. So they did that, but they still wrote and they still did pieces. It might be an opinion piece or it might be a narrative piece, but they wrote their pieces and we used a developmental scale. And I wanted to say for the other writing piece, we all used the exact same rubric. So we had the same rubric and we evaluated the rubric. We had the same rubric for the polished pieces and for the constructed responses. So that was how our district, that's what we did as a plan to look at our writing scores. So sometimes, as a literacy coach, you look at individual students, sometimes you look at classes, and sometimes you might have to look at an entire school. Sometimes you look at an entire district. So I just want you I wanted to show you a district-wide plan, and I then implemented this at my school as the principal. But I would just want you to know that you have to look at data in different ways, sometimes at a micro level, sometimes at more of a macro level. You're going to write the goals. So that's all I have for today. I love writing. I hope you like writing too. Have a good day. You're almost done. Module 7. Bye-bye.